Whoa! A long-awaited sequel that is both amazing and better than the original? It's time to summon Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here, so it's time for a brand new movie review today. This one is going to be for a movie which is a sequel, and also one that actually came out this year. And it's a sequel to a film that I reviewed last week, and it's directed by an absolute legend that is Tim Burton, one of my favourite directors of all time. And this is a sequel 36 years released after its original film, and that sequel, of course, is none other than this year's Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. So, now, how was this film made then? So, after the success of the original film in 1988, plans for a sequel were announced by the Geffen Film Company, the original producer of the film, but unfortunately, little has materialised since then until 2011, which I guess is understandable because Tim Burton has been busy making other films, of course. But in 2011, Warner Bros. Pictures hired Seth Grahame-Smith to pitch a story which went through numerous revisions before being shelved in 2019. But, however, plans for a sequel were revived in early 2022, with Tim Burton set to co-produce with Brad Pitt's studio Plan B Entertainment, and then he'd eventually agreed to direct the film because he was hesitating at first to direct it, but he eventually agreed to direct the sequel, which I'm very happy about that he came back. And casting, of course, then began in the following year, and it finished by early 2023. And then filming, which was supervised by cinematographer Haris Zambalukos, took place in parts of England and America from May to November, but was unfortunately suspended for 4 months due to a 2023 actors' strike. But eventually, of course, filming was done, and the visual title being Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, which is, of course, reference to what you said to summon Beetlejuice, was then revealed in February 2024, which is definitely, in my opinion, a very creative and perfect title for a sequel. And in post-production, editing was handled by Jet A. Pirate Kidney, and the musical score was composed by Tim Burton's longtime collaborator, Danny Elfman. The film opened at the 81st Venice International Film Festival on August 28, 2024, and was then theatrically released overseas on September 4, 2024, and in the United States by Warner Bros. Pictures 2 days later. The film received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed $450.9 million worldwide on an estimated $100 million budget, and it became the 10th highest grossing film of the year so far. Now, when it comes to my reaction to this film, then I'll be completely honest and say that when they first confirmed this sequel to be made, I had mixed thoughts about this sequel because, first of all, I was hesitating if it was going to be worth watching because sometimes sequels have been made late and have unfortunately not been needed, sadly, which really sucks, yes. But I was having a bit of hope for this because, first of all, Tim Burton is one of my favourite directors of all time, and he's made 90% of his films I absolutely do love. So I was hoping he'd do a great job with his film, despite, of course, it being a long-awaited sequel. And also because I've seen sequels which had a massive gap between the predecessors and the sequels, which have actually turned out to be amazing. Examples I can say are things like, for example, Blade Runner 2049 and Top Gun Maverick, among some others I've seen too as well. But those are the best examples I can say. So, I was a bit hopeful this could be good too. And when I saw this film's trailers, thankfully, of course, my hope stayed because I was really impressed with the aesthetic of the trailer and the practical effects being used and the cast who returned to prize their roles. They looked like they still got it. So I was deadly serious in saying I was going to see the film. And I've literally just got done watching the film now because I finally got to watch it via video on demand because it became available, I think, a month after it first came out in cinemas. And I've got to say that when it comes to this sequel being, of course, long awaited, it was definitely worth every single second because I absolutely loved this sequel. And I'm also going to say, completely honestly, that in my opinion, it was better than the first movie. I will say, I'll always love the first movie. It's one of Burton's best of his best, in my opinion. That's never going to change my opinion. I still love the first film. I really do. But this sequel, though, wow. My mind was blown. And I finished this film with a great deal of satisfaction. Wow. I was so happy watching this film. I think this was definitely a film that I really needed in this year. And I absolutely adored every second of it. This film is proof that Tim Burton still got it making films, and Michael Keaton also still got his Beetlejuice, of course, absolutely. Now, what is the sequel about then? So, set more than 3 decades after the first movie, the film follows Lydia Deetz, who was Winona Ryder's character with Winona reprising a role as her, who is now a mother, struggling to keep her family together in the wake of a loss as the spectre Beetlejuice returns to haunt her. So, now when it comes, of course, to what I think is great about this film, so here is why I think the film is absolutely fantastic, a great sequel, which is, in my opinion, better than the first movie. So, for example, I think the cast of this film was, in my opinion, spectacular. So, several of them, of course, reprise the roles from the first movie. So, when it comes to the film's title character, Beetlejuice himself, Michael Keaton, of course, reprises his role as him. And even though it's been 3 decades, of course, since he last played the character, he's still got it, in my opinion. This film is proof of that. Because despite, of course, being in his 70s now, in my opinion, and he's never changed as Beetlejuice whatsoever, and this one was proof of that. Like, in this film, he was once again absolutely fantastic. He preserved, of course, the psychotic and entertaining nature of the character, in my opinion, and he did a brilliant job once again in this sequel. And the makeup department also, in my opinion, did a phenomenal job, of course, preserving his look from the first film as well, the same makeup and the costumes as well, in my opinion, were fantastic. Like, it's hard to believe this film was so long released after the first one because of how great Keaton was reprising his role. Like, it's just incredible, really. And Tim Burton and Michael Keaton have lots of respect from me too, because they said they were going to keep the character, of course, politically incorrect, because when it comes, of course, to the character, it's a well-known fact that Beetlejuice as a character does not change. He never evolves. So what I really appreciate, of course, is they kept him as he was in the first film, with no character development or changing. They kept him as Beetlejuice. So that's why I have my respect, because sadly, when it comes to sequels that I've seen, they've unfortunately changed characters and not for better, sadly, mainly due to political correctness, which really sucks. Because in this mad world, we have lots of wokeness, which really sucks in the film industry. But thankfully, what I can confirm, this film was not woke. And it's mainly because of how we portrayed Beetlejuice. Thankfully, the character was not ruined at all, which I really appreciated. Also returning as well is Winona Ryder as Lydia Deetz. And Lydia is still, in my opinion, one of Winona's best roles I've seen from her. She's a great actress, one of my favourites. And in this film, she was great as Lydia in this. Played her so well in this film once again. She still got it as her. Played her so well in this. Also returning as well is Catherine O'Hara as Delia Deetz, who of course is Lydia's stepmother. And I think she was once again great in this as Delia, absolutely. She still got it as her. This was definitely a much better film from this year for Catherine O'Hara compared to a certain spy film this year, of course, which was The Disgrace being Argyle. I'll definitely say that. This one was a much better film for this year for Catherine O'Hara, absolutely. When it comes to a new character in this film, there's actually quite a few which I definitely really loved and happy to talk about. For example, I absolutely love Jenna Ortega in this film as Astrid, who is Lydia's teenage daughter in this. I think Jenna Ortega was absolutely fantastic as her. I think Jenna Ortega is definitely a rising star in the film industry. And she always has my respect because she always hates Warners as well. And this is definitely my second favourite role of hers behind Wednesday Addams in the Wednesday Network show, which is also, of course, show run by Tim Burton. And she was definitely, in my opinion, fantastic in this as Astrid. Definitely played her so well, made her a likeable and relatable character. So much fun to see in this. Jenna Ortega absolutely nailed it as Astrid in this film. And I also as well love the addition of this film's villain, of course, which is Dolores, who is played by Monica Bellucci, who, if you guys didn't know, is actually Tim Burton's real-life partner now, which is pretty cool. And Monica is, in my opinion, a great actress, and she's probably my favourite Italian actress of all time as well. I already, of course, loved her as Persephone in the Matrix sequels, Reloaded and Revolutions. But in this film, wow, she was definitely, in my opinion, amazing as Dolores, who is Beetlejuice's ex-wife, who, of course, when we're both alive, poisoned him until he killed her with an axe in retaliation during the Black Plague. I think she did a great job playing Dolores in this film, made her a pretty menacing character, I must say. Of course, a soul drainer who literally deflates people when she sucks the life out of them. Like, wow, so menacing. What's also mind-blowing is, in this film, she only has 7 lines of dialogue. Like, it's hard to believe, really. But I will say, well, with those 7 lines, that was, in my opinion, enough, because her performance was fantastic. 7 lines or not, she was amazing. And yeah, Monica did a great job playing Dolores. I also, as well, absolutely love the addition of Willem Dafoe as Wolf Jackson, who is a former B-movie action star who becomes a police detective in the afterlife as a ghost. And Willem Dafoe is one of her actors, and it's actually really surprising me how he's never been in a Tim Burton film before, really. Because I think, you know, he would definitely be a perfect choice for a Tim Burton film, and he finally got to be in one, which was this film. And he was an awesome addition to the cast. He made Wolf a very entertaining character in this. And definitely, of course, channeled his experience playing villainous roles, like the Green Goblin, for example, and Spider-Man in this. He definitely channeled villainy really well into his role in this, especially in the scenes where he's shouting, reminding a lot of the Green Goblin. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is a phenomenal actor, and it's really cool that he was in this film, absolutely. I also saw a lovely addition as well of Justin Theroux as Rory, who is Lydia's boyfriend and the TV producer. I think he played Rory really well in this film, in my opinion. Definitely another one of the best parts of the cast, in my opinion, too. He's a good actor, Justin Theroux. And when it comes to cameos in this film, we also got a pretty funny cameo by the absolute legend Danny DeVito as the Afterlife janitor in this. Danny DeVito, of course, is another one of Tim Burton's frequent collaborators, and he had a role in this, which is definitely really cool to see. I love seeing him in this film, which was brilliant. So, as well as, of course, this great cast of actors, another reason why I think this film is fantastic is because it also helps preserve what made the first film so great and iconic, because I think it takes what made the first film so amazing, and in my opinion makes it better. Because when it comes to this film, I think the characters in it are all great, and also when it comes to handling certain characters as well, I also, in a way, also glad that they didn't include the Maitlands in this film, because I personally think the story was perfectly ended in the first film, so I think it made sense to not include them in this film. We can, of course, assume they've moved on to the afterlife because of the ghosts, so yeah, of course we'll do that, right? And when it comes to him as well, I was also glad they didn't return because I personally don't like Alec Baldwin as a person and in real life behind the scenes, so I'm actually kind of glad that he didn't come back in this as Adam Maitland. I'm very happy about that. Speaking of people I also don't like, I was also glad Jeffrey Jones also did not come back in this as Charles Dietz. I mean, the character does appear in this film, guys, in the afterlife, because at the start of the film, it's revealed that he actually got killed by a shark in a plane crash in the ocean, which you guys did not know was actually inspired by Tim Burton's nightmare he once had where he got eaten by a shark after crashing into the ocean from a plane crash. So, in this film, we do see Charles appearing as headless in the afterlife, but not played by Jeffrey Jones, thankfully, instead played by other actors. So I like how this film, of course, acknowledged, of course, why Charles isn't in it. In my opinion, they did it in a very creative way, I must say. I think they did it really well in this. Did a very good job with it. And I knew that, of course, how to acknowledge him eventually, because when you, of course, do a sequel, you've got to, of course, connect to your predecessor. And I think this one did a very good job with that, in my opinion. Really good job with it. As well as, of course, the story, in my opinion, being fantastic, taking what's great about the first film. I also, as well, definitely love the aesthetic of this film when it comes to the effects, because Tim Burton confirmed that he didn't want to use CGI in this film predominantly, and when you see him in this film, I can definitely tell he stood by that word, because about 99% of his film's effects are practical from what I saw, and in my opinion, they're absolutely fantastic. Like, because I think the first film, in my opinion, was memorable thanks to its practical effects, and they carried over into this film. And in my opinion, it was done much better when it comes to the effects, probably due to technology advancing. And I think they did it really well. And it reminded me a lot of Tim Burton's stop-motion films he's done over the years. So I think it was pretty cool how he used his skills in the stop-motion film industry in this film for stop-motion animation of certain effects, which in my opinion was absolutely fantastically done. Like, for example, of course, the scenes with a sandworm, and also the recreation, of course, of Charlie's plane crash and getting killed by a shark. Like, I think they did a really brilliant job with that in this film when it comes to stop motion. And practical effects are also, in my opinion, fantastic. And they also, thankfully, had no reason at all to de-age Michael Keaton to look younger as Beetlejuice, because the character, of course, doesn't age. But Michael Keaton, of course, in his 70s now, he's not getting any younger. But because the character, of course, has pale white skin, of course, and he, of course, has long green hair, they had, thankfully, no reason to de-age Michael Keaton with CGI to look younger, because his age is concealed by makeup. So I think that was definitely, in my opinion, really well done when it comes to, of course, handling, of course, age of the actors. And of course, I can happily accept, of course, the human character being the Dietz is aging, because obviously, of course, 30 years later, you know. And I also love how this film also reused plot twist ideas from the first film, of course, when it comes to, of course, the relation of characters being ghosts, but in a different way, of course. So the way, of course, Israel with Lydia sought the Maitlands, and when no one else could see them, was done in this one where her daughter Astrid develops her psychic abilities from inheritance, and she sees, of course, Jeremy the ghost. And it's good, of course, he is a ghost too, as well. So I think they did a very good job reusing a plot twist, but doing it a different way in this film, and that's why this sequel, in my opinion, stands out compared to others, because it uses, of course, ideas from the first film, but executes it differently, which I definitely really loved about it. I also, as well, absolutely love Danny Elfman's musical score in this film. Danny Elfman is a phenomenal composer, Tim Burton's longest-serving collaborator of all time. I love how he reused his iconic theme song for Beetlejuice before, like in the first film. And also, as well, introducing new music as well, which in my opinion was fantastically composed. Danny Elfman is a fabulous composer. Fabulous. and music was great to listen to in this. And I also think the story is also fantastically paced because the film is 104 minutes, and in my opinion, it's paced really well. The film was never boring whatsoever for me. I loved every second of this movie. It was just an absolute joy to watch. And like I said, guys, when I finished watching it, I was very satisfied. Like, this is definitely fun I needed in this year, absolutely. And the story, in my opinion, was just fun from start to finish. I loved every second of it. So, yeah, I absolutely love Beetlejuice, guys. In my opinion, a phenomenal sequel. Now, if you guys were to ask me, would I want a third movie? Well, Tim Burton has said he doesn't really plan to do a third film anytime soon because of course, when it comes, of course, to technology advancing, of course. But if he was to do it with the same gap between the first one and this film, of course, by then, and it probably won't even happen, of course. But he, of course, thinks they'll probably do, of course, with like AI and stuff like that, as he said in an interview. And who knows, that could probably happen. But I really hope that doesn't happen. But he seems pretty adamant that a sequel not going to happen. And to be honest, I can totally see, of course, this film being a good closure because, in my opinion, it closed doors really well in this film. It gave closure to the characters, and I think it did it really well. And it ended on a funny note as well, of course, too, must also add. So, I personally think there was no better way to end this franchise than with this sequel, in my opinion. Like, and everybody guessed that, you know, this sequel, which was pretty late, 36 years late, would actually be amazing and better than the predecessor and a great way to close the story. Like, wow. Like, I think sequels need to really take a look at this and, of course, take notes from it because this sequel is how you do a legacy sequel, which is long-awaited, late, but still phenomenal and better than its predecessor. Like, this is how you do a sequel. And I'll happily consider it one of Tim Burton's greatest he's ever done, absolutely. In my opinion, an amazing film. So, guys, this is me doing my review for this year's Beetlejuice. So, if I was to give a film a score out of 10, because I absolutely adore this sequel, I'd give it for me a full-blown 10 out of 10. I absolutely adore this sequel so much, and I cannot wait to get it on physical media. I've already got the first one as a 4K Steelbook. Hopefully I'll get a sequel on 4K Steelbook, so I really hope so. So, guys, this is me, of course, doing my review for this year's Beetlejuice. So, if you guys want to see them, please go see it. You will not regret it. It's a phenomenal film, in my opinion. One of Tim Burton's greatest he's ever done. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to visit a like. Also, be sure to vote in the comments what you guys think of Beetlejuice. If you've seen it in the comments below. Also, be sure to join the team by pressing subscribe. Who's coming in the future, and I'll see you all later.